never built your own DIY electric bike, I highly recommend it. It is so satisfying to have a bike that you customize exactly for what you want, and knowing that there's nobody else with the same exact build as you. Something about that is just a little bit special. It's something that an out-of-the-box bike just simply doesn't do. At least not for me. We're going to be range testing my 72 volt custom Razor. A 72 volt, 24 amp, 150 amp output battery, plus a KR5V with some moto brakes. So we're just going to get straight into this and get on the trail. We should be able to get an idea of what kind of ranges we can expect from this bike, because I've not done this yet and I'm curious. I'm not going to be ripping the whole time super fast because, again, we are just trying to see how far you can realistically get on this bike. It is very fast. I changed out the rear suspension on this bike from a cheap $40 Amazon Airshock to a B&M Burner 2S, and it has greatly increased the ride quality of this bike. Is it the most comfortable bike you'll ever ride? Probably not, but that's not what these mini bikes are meant for. Mini bikes are meant to go fast and be a whole lot of fun while doing so. These Pit Bike 14 12-inch wheels, it really adds a ton of traction. You can be a lot more confident in it. 84 volts is the maximum voltage. We got to keep our eyes on that because we don't have a battery gauge or a speedometer on this bike, but we can pay attention to the voltage of our battery. I will say, on these smaller bikes, 50 miles an hour feels like you're doing 100. Like right now we're doing like 30 maybe, and it feels fast. This thing is mighty fast. We don't even have it tuned up all the way because I just don't really feel like you need to be doing much over 50 on a bike this small. 50 feels plenty fast, especially with the torque and acceleration that we have on this bike. We are running a 10 tooth on the motor and a 52 tooth on the rear sprocket, which is giving it a 5.2 gear ratio, which is pretty aggressive in terms of acceleration. We should have absolutely no problem climbing up anything. I have this bike mostly dialed. My front brake is still making a rubbing noise. I think that's mostly down to the absolutely massive rotors that are on the front of this thing. I am also all geared up because when you're riding fast mini bikes like this, on uneven surfaces, you want to be wearing gear just in case something catches you off guard. Seems like there is no one out here today, which is perfectly fine with me. I got the whole roads to myself to explore. Definitely have to know how to stand on your bike if you're going to be ripping one of these, especially off-road, because you probably will get launched off this thing if you are seated for some of the more intense bumps. Look at that torque, it's insane. We did hit our top speed there. I'll check a little bit what that was. Pretty sure we're topping out around 47 to 50 miles an hour at the moment. Oh my god, this bike is ridiculous, man. Is it the most comfortable ride? Nope, you definitely feel the bumps on this. sounds like I still have a little bit of rattling from the front end. I'm not really sure what that is, but we did replace the front bearing. When I got my pit bike wheels, the front bearing was absolutely toasted when I got it. We're actually taking the same route that we took the gas mini bike on to show you the difference of performance between this custom electric one and our gas bike. The price tags are incredibly different between the two, so it's not really a fair comparison. This bike, I haven't really calculated exactly how much I spent, but sourcing my own parts, and I mean, I did buy some convenience ones. I think I'm close to about $2,200 into this bike. That being said, with all of the tariff situation, this might be a little bit more expensive now if you were wanting to build one of these for yourself. I like this part because we have this old paved route. It is not smooth and clear. It is definitely got a bunch of potholes and debris, so you have to be careful, but it lets you play around a little bit on these off-road bikes on a paved surface. And unlike some of the big e-motos, as long as you're respectful on a bike like this, you're not really going to be bothering people who are out walking. Is this thing silent? Definitely not. It makes noise, but it's not incredibly loud either. Yeah, this surface, not so much fun on a bike like this. You really do feel these bumps. My suspension is more set up to take some bigger hits rather than being ultra soft. Also, my front fork is rather cheap. The front forks itself are only, I think, $110, so they have no adjustments whatsoever. What they have is what you get. Okay, we're gonna turn it down while we go through this section. Looks like my handlebars have shifted back a little bit. That's not ideal, but they seem like they're pretty locked in, so we're just not gonna mess with it too much, but we gotta be mindful of that. We now have it on setting 2, which honestly is probably the most reasonable setting to have this thing on if you're just putting around. 3 is incredibly fast and almost unnecessary on this bike. That's also why people like building these, is to make them way more powerful than necessary. These things are so nimble for gliding around obstacles on the trail. Really can't do much better. Hello. Yeah, it is. Yeah, I built this thing. See, like I said, as long as you're respectful to people, people don't really have issues with the faster bikes. It's when you're blowing past people super fast and scaring them, that's how these bikes get banned. You're just friendly and cool, and you talk about your passions. People tend to love that kind of stuff. We are down to about 81 volts, so we used 4 volts so far. This bike does not have a kickstand, so we gotta go lean it up against here. Excuse me. Have a good day. Yeah, nothing better to do with your day than just ride around and enjoy an electric bike, man. These things are the ultimate fun. I love gas-powered vehicles, but the public perception of them than off-roading, especially in like my state. They're just not freaking legal anywhere. But electric stuff, you won't get into any issues. You can just kind of go and adventure where you please. I do need to fix my handlebars though. I don't know when they move. That's crazy. I don't think I'm going to be standing and putting a bunch of weight on the handlebars because of the fact that they moved already. So we got to take the rougher stuff a little bit slow, because if you're going over rough terrain, you want to stand on your bike. Gives you much more control and makes it more stable. All of your weight is focused onto the foot pegs and the handlebars, which allows you to put better inputs into the bike. I think that's probably my battery rattling around. I probably should have forgot to put the foam cube I usually put under there. And it was making a bunch of noise, and it's probably not good in the long term. We're just gonna have to deal with it today. Switch it back to 3 and... Alright, while we're here, I think I'm gonna stop, take some B-roll, check over the bike once over to make sure nothing is coming loose or breaking, and then we will continue our ride a little bit more. So if we look, we are 5.8 miles in, and we are currently at 90% battery with 21 amp hours left remaining. So let's get this thing going and get some more miles in. Now we're climbing up a hill, which might impact our battery life a little bit, but it's really no problem power-wise for this bike. Although this is starting to get a little on the rough side. Luckily, it is the weekend, so hopefully there will be no DEEP out trying to ruin my fun. Well, actually, they had no problem with my Polaria, but they had a problem with my dirt bike riding out here. So hopefully, if there is someone, they won't care about this little contraption that I built. But really, we can't go all that fast on this bike anyways because of the rough nature of this. We simply don't have big enough wheels, long enough travel, or good enough quality suspension to really handle some of the rougher bumps out here. So far, this thing is holding up great. The only thing I really hear now is a little bit of battery rattle. I'm probably gonna glue like a foam pad to the bottom of the battery so that I don't need to worry about or think about that ever again. Maybe a rubber pad would be better. Yeah, probably rubber. We went the wrong way, boys. I went to not my intended destination. What the heck? We're gonna make a pull on the pavement up here. Full throttle. It's so stupid fast for the size of the vehicle it is. Oh wow, look at that house at the top of the hill. Frickin' castle up there. pavement pull before we get back onto the dirt. A little bit of rough terrain here. No problem for the Mini though. That was definitely DEEP, and I don't think they had any problem with me and my electric mini bike. Like I said, electric is a lot more acceptable, at least here in the state of Connecticut, than anything gas-powered as far as toys go. They don't seem to care about these, but they care a whole lot if you're riding anything gas-powered. If I was on my mini bike, I would have gotten pulled over for sure. Gotta be careful of those woods cops though. If you are considering between gas and electric, I highly recommend electric. While you are going to be paying more, it's definitely worth it because you will not have nearly as many problems with the law with an electric bike as you will a gas bike. And if you're considering building a RZR, while these are very fun, and if you spend a good amount of money, you can make these quite capable. I do think there are some better options for entry-level electric moto bikes. The RZR, yeah, the cost of entry for these bikes is like $200 or $300 on Facebook Marketplace, but you are going to be spending a significant chunk of change to make these things genuinely fast. When I bought mine, my 72-volt 24-amp-hour battery, which was about $650, and I think just all the electronics in total, probably about $1,200. Plus, you got to piece together all of the parts you want. The swing arm extensions are usually like $200, or if you want the best version of it, it's probably the Midwest Mini swing arm, which is $300. And then you got to factor in your suspension, your brakes, if you want to put in a better seat, that kind of stuff. So, you know, do your own research. Don't just buy from one source. Shop around and see what you can find. Down here, we're going to try and tighten down the battery again because it is rattling more. I don't know if my mounts are making it a little bit more loose, but we will figure that out shortly. Seeing pretty dry out here, so we are just going to, that is looking quite marshy, but we are going to turn around here and probably start making our way back. So far we are 11 miles in and still at 77 volts. Let's take a look at BMS and see what that looks like. 70% battery. All right, well, we are going to run this thing back up to my car and probably get this thing loaded up. I think we'll probably have ended at like 15, 20-ish miles by the end of this. And I'm assuming we're probably going to be around 50% battery. We will check on that. And that'll at least give us an idea of how far we can go on this if we want to bring it on like a group ride or something. A little bit of a hill climb. Cameras never really show how steep this stuff is, but again, absolutely no problem for a bike like this. Oh my god, that's some pretty intense shit. But again, we are just trying to get an idea of how far you can really ride one of these things. Dodging those big old potholes. Oh my god, that's insane. I love this bike. For a while, I was not in love with it when I had my cheap rear shock, but with that fix, I'd have no plans on selling this now. I was thinking about it for a while. I even had it listed for a little bit, but nah. We're keeping it, we're riding it, and featuring it on this channel because it's my second most viewed video on YouTube. Was the first part of the build of this. And if you haven't seen it, go check the description down below. I'll have a link to that, or one of those little pop-ups on the screen. I documented every step of the way of building this bike. So if you want to build your own, and you want to know exactly how that works, you can find that pretty easy. I bet you that guy didn't expect this little thing to rip so quickly. Oh my god, this is rough. I will say, when you're going fast, the suspension seems to eat it up better, but if I was to hit some of these bigger ones while going fast, it might not end well for me. Definitely have to be careful at what speeds we are ripping these on. We do not want to get in trouble with DEP again. This thing's freaking ridiculous, man. I love it. And this is a bit of a climb. We gotta watch for some big rocks that stick out that may trip us up. Like up here. If you're not paying attention, that might catch you out of surprise. And with these size wheels, it might not be fun. Good. This is so fun, man. If you've never built your own DIY electric bike, I highly recommend it. Whether that be an upgraded pedal bike or something that's like a mini moto like this, or a full-size, Sur-Ron or Telluride build, I highly recommend. It is so satisfying to have a bike that you customize exactly for what you want and being able to use it and knowing that there's nobody else with the same exact build as you. This is a one-of-a-kind bike. And I don't know, something about that is just a little bit special. You kind of have an attachment to it because you put it together with your own hands. It's something that an out-of-the-box bike just simply doesn't do. At least not for me. Remember to subscribe down below, leave a like if you liked it, and comment what you would like to see with this bike. I think the next time I pull this thing out, I'm gonna go to a proper dirt bike trail and see how truly capable this thing actually is. As a final note, we went 16.5 miles. We're down to 72 volts, which is the nominal voltage of this bike. That means we are at 45% battery. We did 16.5 miles, 1,839 feet of elevation gain, and 45 minutes of riding, with a top speed of 50.4 miles an hour and an average speed of 22.3. Let me know what you guys think of this bike, and we will probably be filming a bunch more on this thing. Also, stay tuned to the channel. We're going to be collabing with Maximum Charge with some of his fast bikes, and he's going to get to try some of these.
And if you want to replicate this bike, I'll have links to a lot of the parts that I used for this bike in the description below. Many of those links are to Amazon and things like AliExpress, but overall I'm super happy with the performance of this bike. There's still a few things that I have to get dialed in, but that shouldn't be too hard. And since you made it all the way to the end of this video, hit that subscribe button down below. It means the world to me and it's free to you. Anyways, I'll catch you on the next video.